I want to preface this video by saying that I don't want people to think that people who use or enjoy Apple products are stupid, or that all Apple products are garbage and not worth your time. This is my opinion on Apple, and also why the company as a whole frustrates me. One last thing I want to say is that if I did want to, I could buy the latest iPhone. However, I chose not to. My journey with Apple started when I got the iPhone 5S, and since I was coming from a cheap Android smartphone at the time, and because all of my friends had iPhones, in 2013, I felt like I was so cutting edge. It was the latest and greatest iPhone, and I remember feeling just amazing, like I had this cool device. The phone also aged very gracefully and continued to be enjoyable, for the most part. However, in 2017 I was very frustrated, as not only had I gone through multiple charging cables, but my headphone jack had stopped working, the battery life became very poor, I was at 30% by lunch with mild use, and I wanted something new. You would assume that I would just choose the next iPhone, as many people do. However, I did not. This was because during this time I had become enthralled in everything mobile tech, specifically by watching a YouTube channel called Mr. Mobile, who you may have heard of. I still to this day watch him all the time, and I'll link him in the description. His videos even influenced my decision to major in computer science at university. So check him out, as he's one of the best reviewers out there on YouTube. The reason I mention this is because he introduced me into the world of Android phones, and specifically really nice Android phones that could rival and, in my opinion, outclass the iPhone in many ways. My problem with the iPhone and Apple as a whole comes down to two things. The first being that it is a status symbol and that anything else is nowhere near as good. What I mean by this is that people are still under the impression that if they buy anything other than an iPhone, they'll be getting a subpar experience. And an example of this in my life is how when I showed one of my friends my Android phone, I'm using the Huawei P10, and I mentioned the similar dual camera experience for less money, she said, all Android phones have crappy cameras, and wouldn't listen to me about it at all. Another example of this is how a person was showing me the amazing fact that with the iPhone X you can touch the screen and it will turn on. However, was quite frustrated at me when I pointed out that Android phones could do that as early as 2013 on the LG G2. The fact that so many people claim to me that Apple's been so innovative and that I don't know what I'm talking about when I explain Apple did not invent that feature, or that their marketing is saying things that have no meaning like the most durable glass on the back of the iPhone 8 is frustrating to be sure, because it's just not true. And I'm sure many of you will point out that other companies do this, and they do. Samsung, LG, HTC, Huawei, and yeah, I'd 100% agree with you. But it becomes so aggravating to me when Apple charges such a premium and talks about how amazing their products are when they nickel and dime their customers. I know I'll sound like a broken record to many of you who read any-tech journalism, but in an over $1,000 phone, Apple doesn't include a fast charger, doesn't include a headphone jack adapter. People just seem to accept the prices and say that the phones are the best, and that they will pay the premium to get the phones and won't even consider any Android phone. This does not mean that I think there's no reason to buy an iPhone. And if everyone in your family has an iPhone, you use Final Cut Pro to edit, then totally, buy an iPhone. If you enjoy Mac OS, or your equipment can only work with Mac OS, then yeah, go ahead. But the phones are nowhere near worth it, especially for the specs that you're getting when buying. Yes, Samsung also sells a phone that is similarly priced to Apple's, and many phones are increasing in price. But that doesn't mean that it makes the iPhone amazing. The iPhone is a great phone, don't get me wrong, and I'll recommend it to anyone who doesn't really understand tech very well. However, I will also recommend the Google Pixel. I just find Apple to be a very frustrating company. Anyway, I wanted to thank you all for watching my video, and if you're still here, consider subscribing. If you look back at my earlier videos on this channel, I'm not really sure what I want to do with this channel yet, but I'm just trying to figure it out right now, so if you have any suggestions, let me know. This has been RBG of RBG Reviews. See ya.